Please give a warm IHSS welcome to our second keynote speaker, Ms. Silver Rose.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news.
Yeah! They said keep them awake after lunch. So that's my contribution. All right. So, I know. I look like the lady from your homeowners association. The one who's always trying to tell you to keep the noise down. You know, the one with 18 rescue cats. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to get the cat lovers mad at me right off the bat. So, this has been fun. I love to come and hang out for the day, and especially with you all, because I'm not even sure the committee knows this, but my oldest daughter, I adopted 2 girls from foster care who were sisters who hadn't lived together for 10 years when I got them. And my oldest has a lot of problems. They both do, but my oldest is really complicated. And she lives in Eugene, Oregon now, and she has a home health care worker. She has a social worker that comes in and helps her because she is profoundly disabled from, physical as well as emotional and mental. So as a representative of the families, the people that you serve, I want to say thank you so much. I mean, it's amazing. When I met my daughter, she thought her only option in life was to be a street prostitute. Yeah. And now she is living on her own. She's been clean off of meth for 17 years. And it's because people like you helped her. And I appreciate that. Her younger sister is, at the age of 37, became a science teacher. And unfortunately, my oldest is always comparing herself to her little sister. And I got to tell you, from my standpoint, they're both my heroes. And they both have overcome obstacles in very different ways. But to be as disabled as my daughter is and be able to live on her own with the help of people like you, it's amazing. So thank you. So I've been here all day. So one of the things is I've met Cynthia. And Cynthia was very careful to explain to me when I told her what I was going to say next, that she was a major in the Army. Because I wanted to compare her to a benevolent drill sergeant. So imagine Cynthia as a drill sergeant. Okay, you can see it, yeah? Her aide here tells me, oh yeah. So here's Cynthia as a benevolent drill sergeant. Who are the greatest social workers in the world? Who are the greatest social workers in the world? I can't hear you. And then we had Myrna and Victoria were mentioned as being on the committee, and I did a lot of work with Myrna. But one of the things I want to tell you that I'm kind of resentful about is that not only are they energetic and did all this work in the committee, but they did it in high heels. That's annoying. That's like really annoying for me. My age, I gave them up a long time ago. You just get to that point. But there's people my age in this audience are like, we're never giving them up, ever. And then we had Sunny, who was amazing. Let's hear it for Sunny. And I have to tell you, I know we all sat spellbound when he was showing the commercial, not the commercial, the video about how he drives now. And I know you all were really impressed with that, but all I could think of was, nice tats. I may be old, but I'm not dead. You said you had mommy issues. I can speak Italian. So then we had Antonia here. I know that she had to leave, but Antonia and I are both from Boston originally. And so she said her bio was too long. She didn't want a long bio. And I told her, I said, you know, you could have really cut that really short. And all you have to know about Antonia is that she's wicked smart. And then, who else am I going to pick on here? Michael Green. Where's Michael? Oh, he left. Michael was having a revival. Right? All you want to do when Michael was up there was you want to say, amen, amen, amen. Oh my gosh. So, you know, I wanted to talk to you today about recharge and rekindle because I know you're talking about lighting the way. And, but before we get into that, I want to just say that I want to address, because everybody has issues with this. Now this is, by the way, this exercise of moving the video or the slides is like, you know how when you pat your tummy and you rub your head? I want to point it here, but they keep telling me to point it over here, so. So first of all, how many of you, when you heard the committee had hired Silver Rose, yourselves, what? Wait, we're hiring a country western singer? Now don't get me wrong, I do like country western music, and here are three of my favorite titles. I'm So Mad About You. Am I doing something wrong, or? Do that? Stand up straight. Mom! Here's my second one. How can I miss you if you won't go away? And my personal favorite is, you're the reason our kids are ugly. You know, Minnie Pearl, who was a famous country western star, a lot of people don't know this, but when she made out her will, she said that she wanted only female pallbearers. She said, if those old boys wouldn't take me out when I'm alive, I don't want them taking me out when I'm dead. So let's talk a little bit today about recharge and rekindle. Now, you can see now I want to just show you the difference here. Here's the first one. See how miserable she is? Help! Now here's the second one. Whoops, I'm doing it wrong. See them? They're happy. 'Cause I'm happy. So we're going to talk a little bit about attitude, but more than anything, I want to talk to you right now about the law of attraction. How many of you know about the law of attraction? Oh, new people to teach. Yay! Law of attraction says you get more of what you focus on. Now, how many of you can think right away, you can think of an example of that? Right? How many of you, when you wake up in the morning, your first words out of your mouth are, ugh? I'm going to give you a whole new way to wake up in the morning, okay? Now, you know, animals, before they get up in the morning, they stretch. And so tomorrow morning, I want you to stretch, and I want you to practice right now. So everybody do this. And with both hands, do this. If there's no coffin lid above you, get up and have a good day. So I talk a lot about change your focus, change your life, because that's what happened to me. I learned about the law of attraction, and I learned how to change my focus. But, if I followed you around all day long, what would I learn that you're focused on? Work? Happy work or just work? Okay, there's two kinds of work. There's work and there's work. Remember when you couldn't wait to get the job that you have now? You said to whoever you live with or you tell your secrets to, if I just get this job, everything in my life will be perfect. And then you got the job, and you said to her a week later, well, this job would be perfect if it were for those people. So it really matters what you focus on. So change your focus, change your life. Now, one of the ways that you learn, that you focus, is by what you pay attention to. Whatever you pay attention to, you're actually placing an order for that. So clearly I'm looking for a young guy with tats. Sonny, you're a little too willing. Got to play hard to get a little bit here, bud. Just a little bit. You what? You can't move as fast as... I want a man with a slow hand. Okay. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to get in trouble here. Forgot where I was for a minute here. So, when you pay attention to something, it's like placing an order. So when you get up in the morning and your first word is, ugh, guess what kind of a day you're planning? Yeah, exactly. So you want to be, look, you're one of two things. You're either a yes to life or you're a no to life. Which one do you want to be? How many of you are yes to life? Yell out yes. All right. How many of you are no? Oh, no brave souls here. Somebody out there is going. So you're either yes or no. Now, here's how to thrive within the eye of the storm, because you all are in the eye of the storm, no question about it. You want to, and Sunny talked a lot about this. Here's what is, here's the situation, whether it's your own personal situation or the people that you're working for, and you look at the situation, you say, okay, this is what it is, what's my strategy for dealing with it? It's all about strategy. And so it's important to note that, how you thrive within the eye of the storm is you have a strategy. And I love what Antonia said before she left. It's about keeping the end in mind. Where are you going with all of this? One of the things that you have built into your jobs is you have a legacy. You all are going to leave a legacy. You're not changing just lives right now. It's going to ripple down the whole family line. It's pretty amazing what you're doing. And I've done a lot of study of happiness because of the work that I do. And without an exception, every single study they've done, Harvard, Stanford, some of the major universities have studied the topic of happiness. And without exception, the number one thing that makes people happy is service to others. And you get paid for it. Not a lot, but you get paid for it. Not enough, I should have said. Not enough. So, it really matters that you've got built into your everyday life a reason, to be happy. Now, we're going to talk today about the 12 steps to passionate self-care. And I just like 12 steps. There's a lot of successful 12-step programs out there, so I thought I would pick that. So here's the first one. Heed your internal guidance system. Heed your internal guidance system. We all have an internal guide. We call it all sorts of different things. If you're religious, you call it your soul. If you're not religious, you might call it instinct. men, like to call it gut instinct. And they're terrified of women's intuition because they know we have it. But we all have an inner guide that guides us all day long. Now, what happens, and I talk to my daughters about this all the time, where we get into trouble is when we ignore our inner guide, our intuition. How many of you have had a dog for a pet? If your dog was in your backyard circling around a bush really low, and the hair on the back of his neck was standing up, and he was growling really low, would you grab him by the nape of the neck, throw him into the bushes, and say, "Get in there, you coward"? No, because his instinct is telling him there's danger. But how many times a week do you grab yourself by the nape of the neck and say, "Get in there, you coward"? No, pay attention to your instincts. Your instincts are telling you if something's not lining up right. And that's when you want to change your focus. So how does this work exactly? Well, we can't figure out what we're focused on mainly by our thoughts, because we have way too many thoughts whizzing through our heads at any given time. Have you noticed that? Have you ever had a thought and said to yourself, "Where did that come from?" Well, it could have been your neighbor next door. You don't know. Science has not proven yet that the thoughts aren't just coming through your head like a radio wave. So the way that your inner guidance system, your intuition, communicates with you is through your emotions. And basically, this is how it works. There's only two emotions. We call them all sorts of dramatic things. But basically, there's a positive emotion and a negative emotion. And when you're experiencing a negative emotion, it is your inner guide saying to you, if you stay focused where you're focused, you are not going to like the results. How many of you, when you're driving into work every day, you're focused on how awful the traffic is? How's that working for you? And when you're focused on the positive, when you're actually feeling good inside, it's your inner guide saying, if you stay focused where you're focused, you're going to really like the results. And so it's really important that you pay attention to your emotions. And by the way, I heard the word passion talked a lot about today. Sunny mentioned it. And so passion it's like good feelings on steroids. When you're feeling good and you're feeling passionate, it means whatever it is that you're focused on is going to come to you faster. And when you're really ticked off, it means whatever you're focused on that you don't like is going to come to you faster. So it's really important to pay attention to your inner guide. What's it trying to do? Now, the instinct we've all been taught to up here, like that, up, like this. Okay. I'm a professional. Who are you talking to here? So basically, the instinct we've all been taught to suppress is to get happy and stay there. Now, aren't you just a little suspicious of happy people? Some people get so happy, we lock them up. We say, this guy must be woohoo, because he's so happy. He must not really know what's going on. But honestly, if you had no other goal in life, this is your only goal, get happy and stay there, everything you ever wanted will come your way. It is astonishing how this works. So get happy and stay there is really important. So here's how I came to this. When I was 28 years old, I was living in Los Angeles. I had had yet another tragic relationship with a man. And so I decided to go for therapy. Now, my dad's idea of therapy is it's paying someone to be your best friend. which I don't agree with. But I go to therapy, and my therapist said to me, tell me what's going on. I said, well, Doc, I've never had a healthy relationship with a man, and it's just now occurred to me that I might have something to do with that. Boy, nothing gets by me. So we started working together, and after about 6 months, my doctor says to me, you have clinical depression. And I looked at him, I said, Doc, are you nuts? By the way, they really don't like that term. I said, what makes you think I'm clinically depressed? He said, well, you come in here week after week telling me these sad stories. Don't you feel depressed? I said, well, I'm from New England. How would I know? So once we decided that I was indeed clinically depressed and that I had been that way since I was 4 years old, we went to work on it. And being the hardy New Englander that I am, I decided I needed to do some work on my own. So I started listening to every self-help book known to man. By the way, I love George Carlin's take on self-help books. He says, I went into the store and I asked the lady behind the counter, where's your self-help section? And she said, well, if I tell you that, it'll defeat the purpose. So I read every self-help book. I did Est. I walked across hot coals barefoot with Tony Robbins, that big gigantic guy on TV. I say I walked across with Tony. Basically, he stood on the sideline saying, go, Silver, go. But I read all these books, I took all these courses, and one night I had an epiphany. I was lying in bed, I had just turned off the television, and I was lying in bed pre-complaining. Any of you are familiar with this term? Basically, I was concerned I would run out of time in the morning when I was getting ready for work, so I decided to get a head start on complaining. And I was lying in bed thinking, I have to go to work in the morning, and those people are going to be there. And it's that time of year, it's dark when I get up. I hate that. And some of you probably did this last night. I looked at the clock and I said, well, it's already too late to get a good night's sleep. And then I started to laugh. I thought to myself, Silver, because that's my name. You are lying here in a queen-size feather bed underneath a warm down comforter, because we all know how cold it gets in Los Angeles in the wintertime. You have just turned off 24-hour entertainment with your remote control. I mean, heaven forbid I should have to get up. You have food in the refrigerator. You have gasoline in the car in the driveway. In any third world country, Missy, you would be the empress. Which I gotta tell you, I really like the idea of. And that's when I started to get grateful. Now, I don't know if you've ever had an epiphany, but you go a little bit crazy at first. So the next morning I wake up before the alarm even goes off, and I bound out of bed and I say, oh, it's morning. I love morning. Thank you for mornings. And I go running into the bathroom and I get in the shower and I'm like, thank you for the shower. This is the best shower I've ever had in my life. And I dry off with a towel. Thank you for this fluffy towel. I stumble over to the mirror and I look in the mirror and I said, thank you for makeup. I'm driving to work, and I'm waving to people on the freeway, and some guy cuts me off, and I'm like, oh, good for you. I go to work, I burst through the doors of my newfound enthusiasm, and I said, good morning. And they said, you've worked with these people. Or you are these people. You ever notice you never need an excuse to be in a bad mood at work? You never do, but you come in a good mood, they want to know one of three things. Did you win the lottery and you're quitting? I want whatever drug you're on. Or my personal favorite, did you get lucky last night? But here's what started to happen. I started focusing on what was good about my life, and it started to get better. It was astonishing. It was like everything that I had always wanted that I thought would help get me out of my depression showed up now, and I'm like, well, where were you when I needed you? Now that you're here, I'm already happy. But that's the whole point. If you focus on what's good about your life, what you like about your life, more of that will come to you. But if you focus on the nonsense, okay, some person, cut you off of the road on the way into work. Big deal. Big deal. Of course, I'm married to an Italian. He thinks it's a contact sport. I said, why can't you just let him in? Because then I lose. I said, that person doesn't even know you. What, are you afraid to lose face with the guy in the Toyota? Come on. We've been married just since November. He needed a tax write-off, and I needed a place to live. It worked out so far. So the instinct we've all been taught to suppress, get happy and stay there. So heed your inner guidance system. Really pay attention. When you're in a bad mood, do everything you can to get out of that bad mood. And by the way, drugs and alcohol won't help. Trust me. I've done extensive research on this. Does not help. Does not help. So number 2, stop struggling and seek solutions. And that's what you're all about. You're all about helping people stop struggling and seek solutions. But here's what I've noticed. Those of us who are in the helping industries, the supportive industries, we're like cobblers who need their shoes fixed. We know what to tell other people, but we don't always do it ourselves. So stop struggling and seek solution, because when you're focused on the struggle, what's going to show up? More struggle. And if you're focused on the solution, what's going to show up? Yeah. So the next thing is a video. Jeremy, ready for the video? So let me set it up a little bit. How many of you have ever heard of Dr. Patch Adams? Patch Adams pioneered being happy, using laughter to help patients, and he almost got thrown out of medical school for it. I mean, it was such a radical. Can you imagine laughter being a radical idea? What the heck's that all about? So this is a scene where there's a woman who's in the hospital who's really, really depressed, and she once shared with Dr. Adams that her fantasy in life that she never got to do was she dreamed as a little girl about swimming in a pool full of noodles. I'll play the clip.
You still want help with Mrs. Kennedy?
Special surprise for you.
Isn't that fun? So I don't ever want you to forget that your inner child never goes away. Never goes away. So when you're working with patients, or what do you call them, clients or patients? Clients. When you're working with your clients, always remember there's a little boy or a little girl in there. You know, when my daughter came to live with me, my oldest daughter is named Shade, and when she came to live with me, she was full of rage. She was 15 years old. She was full of rage. I had holes in the walls of my house to prove how much rage she had. I didn't care about that because, you know, you can fix the holes in the wall. But what I cared about was that when she got really rageful, she would cut herself or bite herself. She would hurt herself. And so I was trying to figure out a way to help with that. But I got to tell you, her energy was so dark. Now this is a room full of social workers. When she was 15, if she walked into that room, this room would clear out. Without saying a word, she could clear a whole room of social workers. They'd run screaming out of the room because her energy was dark. But she's learned now how to deal with a lot of that. Again, through some things that you all have recommended and some services that she's had. So thank you for that. So the next thing, this is my mother-in-law, who I took care of until she passed away in our home. And part of the thing we did with her when we were seeking solutions is when she'd had a stroke, and we had a baby monitor in her room. And she'd already had the stroke, but she was sitting in a chair, and she was trying to get a slipper, and she slid out of the chair onto the floor. And I heard her on the baby monitor say, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up." And her room was really small. It was a refurnished porch that we put together really quickly so that she could come live with us. And the room, between the bed and the window was like this wide. And we were trying to figure out how to get her back into bed because she was dead weight. And if we did the wrong move, she would have gone right out the window, which would have been really bad. So I remembered in hospitals, they put double sheets under you and they lift you that way when they move you from the gurney to the hospital bed. So we put a couple of sheets under her and we lifted her into the bed. And I'll tell you, I was so proud of figuring that out. You'd have thought that I had invented the cure to cancer. But you have that. Don't you help your people solve problems? Aren't you proud of yourself for that? It's too bad. I think you all should start a brag place, like a place where people can brag about what they've done with, because not only will it do one thing is you get to show off a little bit, but it'll also help other people discover solutions to things that maybe they couldn't figure out. So that's Mama. God love her. So stop struggling and seek solutions. Now, number 3 is surrender control. Here's what you need to know. Control is an illusion. Right, Sonny? That's what you told us. It's an illusion. And have you ever noticed that the more fearful you are, the more controlling you get? Have you noticed that with your clients? When they start trying to control everything, it's because they're afraid. So that's one thing to always keep in mind. The key is to focus on what you can control. So one of the great questions that you can ask yourself on a regular basis or ask your clients is, do you have any control over this whatsoever? The answer is no. Let it go. So focus on what you can control. How many of you worry? Here's what you need to know about law of attraction. You get more of what you focus on. Worry is using your imagination to attract something you don't want. Worry is using your imagination to attract something you don't want. It is a useless emotion. I love Mark Twain, who once famously said, "I have lived a long life and had many troubles, most of which never happened." So, good old Mark Twain. So there's an important distinction that I want you always to remember. It's happening near you, it's not happening to you. It's happening. Listen, I had 2 very tough kids who had very tough lives, and I had to remember over and over again that it was happening to them, not to me. Because if I took it on as if it was happening to me, then I was of no use to them. So, there's a wonderful thing that they talk about in 12-step programs called detach with love. And that's something I know that you've probably all learned, but sometimes you forget because sometimes the stories are really sad. I remember one day my daughter was so miserable, I said to God, if you want to take her, if she's this miserable, sometimes you just have to let them go. And then she started getting better when I just stopped clinging to her. You cannot get sick enough to make another person well, And you cannot get sad enough to make another person happy. Now, I know you know this in your professional lives, but do you know it in your personal lives? How many of you, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands on this, but I know there are people here that are just really living their family's lives for them. And that's not doing you or them any good. So, one of the best things you can do for those that you love is to be happy yourself and live as an example of what life can be if you practice these principles. Excuse me. So number 3 is surrender control. Can you get me some water? Thanks. Number 4 is identify and diffuse your buttons. We all have buttons. Some people have the fat button. If somebody mentions how they're fat, they get all worked up. My button is the stupid button. If somebody mentions, that I might, even infers that I might be stupid, it really sets me off, or it used to. But now I've identified it, and I've realized that it's their opinion. So, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent or your participation. So, it's really important to remember that. Thank you, Christian. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Okay, what do I do with this now? That's dangerous. I love to live on the edge. So, the next one is, it's work, not group therapy. I actually have a workshop that's named this. It's work, not group therapy. Because you need to quit bringing your personal problems to work. It's unprofessional. You need to quit, if you had a problem with, I'd rather the glass. I was once told by my aunt that I should never be seen drinking out of a bottle. It's very unladylike. I'm a lady. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. So the next, let me see where I was. It's work, not group therapy. So quit bringing your personal problems to work. Here's one of the great benefits of work, is that you actually can leave your problems at the door, pretend they don't exist, and then as you go through the day, when you come out of work, you can pick them up on the doorstep if you like, if you remember. But here's what we do. We bring our personal problems to work. If you had the worst fight ever with your spouse before you come to work, nobody at work should know, right? But here's what you do. You start taking a poll of all your coworkers of who's right. You tell them what the fight was about, and then you start polling them. And then you go home that night and you say, well, I talked to everybody at work, and they all agree that you're wrong. Yeah. So leave work at work and home at home. That's the other thing, is that, don't bring your problems from work to home. Here's what some people do. They have, they're talking about people at work that they don't like, and then the company picnic happens, and they have to coach their family. Now, she's going to be there. Don't say anything. And good luck if you have a 7-year-old, because a 7-year-old will rat you out every time. Every time. So, life is a series of stories we made up, okay? How many of you have made up the story, my life is terrific? My life is terrific. Well, I want you to make it up. I made my story up. My life is terrific. And what I do now is I start gathering evidence that I'm right, because human beings would rather be right than happy. So if you decide your life's miserable, guess what? You get to be right. And that's what you attract. So everything that you say about your life, you just made it up. Can you prove that your life is terrific? No. You can say, oh, I have a car, I have this, I have that. But, let's say you're talking to one of the Kardashians. They're like, and? Well, I have all this great stuff. Well, no, you have trash. It's just a story we made up. So make up stories that your life is great, and quit making up stories that life stinks, because it doesn't. I'll tell you what, if you think life stinks, get into a life and death situation and see how much you cling to life when that happens. It's pretty amazing. Take a breath, Silver. Okay. What do we do here? I have a court of law rule. I love this. Court of law rule says, if you can't prove it in a court of law, you made it up. So let's say, remind, Sonia? What is it? Silva. I should remember that, for God's sake. Silva. So let's say Silva, I'm on stage and she gives me a look. And I say, I knew she didn't like me. I could tell the minute I met her she didn't like me. So I sue her for libel, and I go to Judge Judy. And I say to Judge Judy, I want to sue her because she doesn't like me. She said she thinks I'm a jerk. Well, how do you know that? Well, she gave me a look. A look? She gave you a look? Yeah, Judge Judy, the same look you're giving me right now. She would throw that out of court and she would fine me for wasting the court's time. So when you make up something about somebody or a situation, ask yourself, could I prove this in a court of law? And if the answer is no, then you may be wrong. Like, can you prove somebody's lazy? Unless, here's how you can prove somebody's lazy. If they say to you in front of a witness, I'm really lazy. But you can't prove, lazy is just a judgment. You can prove somebody doesn't turn their work in on time, or they don't show up for work on time, but you can't prove somebody's lazy. And if you try putting that on a performance review, HR should come after you, because you can't prove it. It's all about, and Sonny talked about this, responding versus reacting. Now, here's what I heard. I heard a therapist one time, a psychologist, give a speech, and he said, when you react to a situation, the adult has vacated the body. Doesn't it feel like that when you're reacting? You idiot, I can't believe you just did that to me. What's wrong with you? I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Your mother wears army pants. Sorry, Major. But when we respond, the adult is present. So reacting versus responding is very important because responding is the adult thing to do. And reacting does not feel good. Does not feel good at all. So next is identify and diffuse. In case you wonder what I'm looking at, there's a cheap thing here. You're like, why does she keep looking at that box? Identify and diffuse your buttons. That was the last one. Mind your own business. Oh, this is a really hard one. This is hard. How many of you love giving unsolicited advice? Oh my gosh, isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Here's the problem. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. An answer to a question nobody asked you is a wasted answer. Here's what they hear. Blah, 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 blah. If you doubt me, try giving unsolicited advice to teenagers. So, for all of you advice-giving fairies that are sprinkling your magic dust all over the planet, you can stop now. When I stopped giving unsolicited advice, I had so much time left in my life, I started a part-time business. So if some of you have problems with time management, you might want to quit trying to solve people's problems when they don't ask you to. So mind your own business. 6, this is one of my favorites. Feed your mind only what you want more of. In our society, we spend all of this time and attention on what we put in our mouths. If I wanted to make $1 million overnight, I would write a book called How to Lose 10 Pounds in 10 Minutes. It would fly off the shelves because people really want to believe you can do that. But we pay this much attention to what we put into our heads. So how many of you, if you were babysitting for a couple of 7-year-olds and they had to go to bed, it was time for them to sleep, you would think to yourself, I know how I'll get them to sleep. I will show them the latest Stephen King movie. You wouldn't do that, would you? That would be, I think you'd get arrested for that, actually. But here's the thing. How many of you, last thing you do before you go to bed at night is you watch the news? I don't. Good for you. Here's what happens. You drag yourself into work in the morning and you say, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I got 8 hours of sleep last night and I can't figure out why I'm so tired. Well, here's why. You were in the war in Afghanistan while you were sleeping. You were being stalked by a serial murderer. And you were in a massive fiery bus crash in Detroit. Sweet dreams. Really. You think that doesn't make a difference, but it does. My daughter, I used to fight with my youngest daughter about, I would come home and she'd be watching Children of the Corn. I can't even listen to the soundtrack for that without wetting my pants. And I kept saying to her, I don't want you to watch that. Oh no, it doesn't bother me. To this day, she has recurring nightmares about zombies. To this day, and she's 42 years old. Oh yeah, it doesn't impact me, Mom. So it's important what you feed your mind. So feed your mind only what you want more of. 7, do sweat the small stuff. It'll save you. Everybody says don't sweat the small stuff. It's the small stuff that'll get you. Honestly, how many of you know you can handle, you've had loved ones with cancer, you've had problems with your children, with drugs, all these different things, but you get a hangnail and somebody has to call suicide prevention. Right? It's the little stuff that gets us. So do pay attention to that kind of stuff because it makes a huge difference in your life. Take care of the little stuff and the big stuff will naturally go. Oh, here's a good one. Position your physical body to serve you. You know, your brain does not know the difference between pretend and reality. So here's what I want to show you. When I was depressed, okay, I can make you depressed in 2 minutes. And I'm going to do this now, but I promise to take you out of it, okay? So everybody sit there now. Round your shoulders. Do this. Round your shoulders. Slump over. And then breathe really shallow. Look down at the floor and sigh. Some of you are experts. If you put noise on top of the sigh, you've done this before. Now, you want to feel good? Sit up straight, breathe really deeply, and grin from ear to ear. Say, no, Silver, I'm in a really bad mood. No, you can't make me not be in a bad mood. I'm in a really bad mood, yes. Your brain freaks out. When minute you start grinning from ear to ear, your brain says, well, he must be in a good mood or she must be in a good mood. Let's send those chemicals into your body. Your brain's full of chemicals. You are always summoning either really nasty ones or really great ones. And the great ones are better than any drug you'll ever take, as far as I know. So position your physical body to serve you. So a couple of things about that. Number one is your body reacts to every negative thought you have. Every negative. You cannot afford to have the luxury of having negative thoughts. Your brain releases chemicals that make your body feel bad and activate your deep limbic system. Also, your brain reacts to every positive thought that you have. Same thing, it sends the chemicals into your deep limbic system, the feel-good center. Conversely, your brain reacts to your body. So remember the original picture, this one? Her brain's reacting to that, and it's making her feel bad. But these people, the brain's reacting to that. So it's really important that you position your body to where you're feeling good. Now, you gotta memorize it, because some of you have gotten out of touch with your bodies. Have you noticed that? So you want to remember what it feels like to feel good. And if you're in a really good mood, just remember what your body felt like at the time. So the next time you're in a bad mood, you could just shift your body, and it'll change. So position your physical body to serve you. Now, 9 is, this is bask. Who are the best basking? Cats, right? They'll follow the sunspot all over the house. So what I want you to do right now is everybody close your eyes, and I want you to bask for a minute. Close your eyes. Think about these lovely people with you. Think about those great prizes they're giving away. Think about the fact that you don't have to deal with anybody but each other today, and just think happy thoughts for 10 seconds. All right, how's that feel? Is that nice? So basking. The other thing is you want to bask in your gifts. So, you know what it is? I keep hitting the wrong button here. What is your genius work? If you want to know what your genius work is, ask people around you. Like if there was a project that you wanted me to do that you knew I could get it done quickly, what would that be? And they'll tell you. But the other thing is that I remember when I spoke to a group of psychiatrists once. Boy, that's fun. And this lovely man, I talked about my daughter, and this lovely man sat down with me after my talk, and he took out a sheet of paper, and he had made notes about the different things I had said about my daughter. And I was talking to them about my daughter because I wanted them to know I knew what they were going through every day with their patients. And he said, this just really changed my life. I put it in my book, actually, is that he said, I don't deal with my patients to try to get them to normal. I talk to them about what was your brain designed to do? Fight or flight. That's what your brain was designed to do? Yeah, exactly. But your brain is designed to do different things. So there's some people that are really good at doing systematic work. I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty glib, so I could probably get hired as a financial person in an organization. You do not want me near your money. My brain was not designed to handle money at all. So what was your brain designed to do? And this is a good thing to talk to with your clients as well, because we compare ourselves to others and we come up short. But we all have brains that were designed to do certain things. So what is your genius work? Give yourself permission to enjoy what you're doing. I won't tell anybody. In this society, we play this stupid game called bottom this. If somebody talks about how great things are, have you ever talked about how much you love your job and you had people look at you like you were weird? Like, what's wrong with you? It's work. But I'm telling you, when the statistics on retirement are not pretty about what it does to people. Your work summons energy for you every single day, and it's life energy. So keep that in mind. Adults made up work as an excuse to play together. Really, because little kids on the playground, they'll come up to each other and they'll say, you want to play? If an adult came up to you on the street and said, you want to play? You'd be like, call 911. We got a predator here. So we had to invent a way to play together, and we invented work. The History of Work by Silver Rose. So bask is number 9. Number 10, measure for what you want. We're always measuring for what we don't want. Have you noticed that? I did some work in workforce development in Arizona, and one of the guys said to me, unemployment on the Indian reservation is at 67%. I said, well, maybe you're measuring the wrong thing. He said, what do you mean? I said, why don't you start measuring employment? Because where's your focus? So what I love hearing the statistics today is that you're focusing on the successes that are happening within your organization, and they are numerous. And what I love is hearing people say, and behind every piece of data is a person or a family. Amazing, amazing stuff. Use celebration and laughter to achieve more. They have done study after study, and people who celebrate and laugh at work are much more productive. So in India, there's a man who invented something called laughing clubs. All right? He discovered that laughter helps people heal from depression and cancer and that sort of thing. So what they do is every morning they meet at the park at sunrise. They look at each other for 10 minutes, they laugh, and then they go to work. So everybody stand up. Everybody stand up if you can. Look at each other and laugh. Okay, sit down. Sit down. Doesn't that feel great? Doesn't that feel great? Why don't you start your days off there? You know, you don't need a reason to laugh. You can laugh in your car and they'll think you're listening to something funny on the radio. So just laugh, look for reasons to laugh. By the way, feel your abs. If you want six-pack abs, just laugh all day. Six-pack abs, just laugh all day. Take a note, Sonny, here. Studies have shown that individual performance soars. And then the other thing is buy a notebook and title it Book of Appreciation. They don't want to stop. Thank you. You are a gentleman. Thank you. What's going on back in this corner here? Pastries. I can't compete with that. Who ordered the pastries early? What the heck? Okay, so buy a notebook and title it Book of Appreciation. Really important. We talked about look for reasons to laugh. So I'm going to go through this a little bit. And then the next thing is, here's some funny quotes. Stick with the optimists. It's going to be tough enough even if they're right. Here's one of my favorite quotes. In hell, all the messages you ever left on voicemail will be played back to you. And Lily Tomlin said, I always wanted to be somebody. I see now I should have been more specific. So, couple of things here. Oh, here's Miss Piggy. Never eat more than you can lift. Oh, and here's a sign in the employee lounge of a hospital emergency room. A nurse told me this. She worked in the ER, which is a very stressful place to work. In the employees lounge, it says, you can't cure stupid, but you can charge for it. So here's what I want you to know. You can, no, not yet. Oh, did we miss this? Oh, let's play this. This is fun. Now that's a very famous video, and what you don't know is that what her father was looking for a job at the time, and what he was ripping up in front of his daughter was rejection notices. Talk about shifting your focus. So the next thing is give back, and you do that every day, and we've been talking about this. Now I just wanted to introduce you to my kids. This is my girls. This is my daughter, Shadows Tears. When she came to live with me, her name was Lori. But my daughter's other daughter's name was Promise, and my name is Silver. So we're like a circus family, right? So Lori changed her name to Shadows Tears, and so now I refer to her as the daughter formerly known as Lori. But those are my girls, and they are my reason for living. They're just amazing in their own rights. They truly are. So give back. So law of attraction says you get more of what you focus on. Maya Angelou said it best. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And you do that every single day. I see you doing it here with each other. It's been just uplifting for me to see how you interact with each other and how much fun that you have. Be a yes to life. Sounds like most of you are anyhow. The no's are in the shadows. And if you want to change your life, change your focus. So here's what I wish for you. I don't wish that you're blessed, because I already know that you're blessed. I mean, you live in the United States of America, which is the best country on the planet. You live in Los Angeles, which is, sunshiny most of the time. What? And, you're all well-dressed, well-heeled, well-fed after that lunch, right? What I wish for you is not that you're blessed, but that you know every single day that you are blessed, because that is the gift. You all know people who are blessed beyond belief, and they don't know it. And there are people who have very little, and they're always counting their blessings. So if you focus on your blessings and what you're grateful for, everything else will fall into place, I promise you. So what I want you to do is just get happy and stay there. Thank you.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Because I'm happy. Clap along.